going to do is, I'm just going to go a little ahead. Okay, see now the scene is, so after this has happened, you know, I mean, we all know this, that Kunti says like this only, share it among yourself. Then now these Pandavas come to a particular conclusion of how to solve this. So that is quite interesting. So we will see that part now. And then on this we will have some discussion, then we will keep going ahead like that.
और फिर उसके तुरंत बाद काम पे ले चले जाओ। मैंने जो भी आदेश दिया उसे दुस्वप्न मानकर भूल जाओ पुत्र।
नहीं माता, वो अब संभव नहीं है।
अर्जुन, माता की बात मान लो। ज्वालामुखी फटा, उस पर्वत के वृक्षों का मोह नहीं करते हैं पक्षी, शीघ्र उड़ जाते हैं। जहां धर्म का संकट हो, वहां अधिक समय तक ठहरना उचित नहीं। तुम चले जाओ, हम भी कुछ समय पश्चात माता को पंचाल नगर के पास पहुंचा देंगे।
पहुंचा देंगे? तात्पर्य?
माता अर्जुन के विवाह में आप उपस्थित रह सकती हैं। हम चार भाई नहीं रह पाएंगे। अब हम कभी भी राजकुमारी द्रौपदी के सामने नहीं आ पाएंगे।
तुम क्या कह रहे हो पुत्र? तुम सामने क्यों नहीं आ पाओगे? जब मैंने अपने आदेश को निश्चित किया है तो तुम्हें क्या आपत्ति है?
माता, आदेश निषिद्ध हो सकता है, परंतु मुख से निकला शब्द निषिद्ध नहीं होता। शब्द वो बीज है जो मन की भूमि पर गिरता है तो एक या दूसरा रूप लेकर भविष्य में जन्म लेता है। इसी कारण से माता ज्ञानियों का आदेश है कि बिना विचार किए मुख से शब्द बोलने वाले व्यक्ति को पाप लगता है।
किंतु पुत्र, मैंने तो भूल से कहा था।
भूल से ही श्रवण को बाण लगा था माता, पर उस अपराध का दंड महाराज दशरथ को भोगना पड़ा था। भूल से किए कार्य का परिणाम नहीं होता, ऐसा तो नहीं है माता। आपने अनजाने में राजकुमारी द्रौपदी का वाग्दान कर दिया है माता। वचन का दान और वचन के द्वारा दान। आपने अनजाने में हमारे और राजकुमारी द्रौपदी के संबंध को नाम दे दिया है। और यही धर्म संकट है माता कि वो मिथ्या नहीं हो सकता, मिथ्या नहीं हो सकता।
तो फिर इसका उपाय क्या है? उत्तर दो। उत्तर दो, कोई तो उत्तर दो। इसका उपाय क्या है? युधिष्ठिर, बोलो। उत्तर दो मुझे, कोई तो उत्तर दो।
किसी कन्या को 5 पुरुषों के बीच बांटा तो नहीं जा सकता माता। धर्म संकट का उपाय तो सदा ही तपस्या से मिलता है। हम सबने निर्णय लिया है कि हम तपस्या करेंगे माता। अर्जुन का कर्तव्य है कि वो राजकुमारी के साथ विवाह करे। वो विवाह करेगा। और हम 4 भाई संन्यास धारण करेंगे। संन्यास धारण करेंगे। संन्यास धारण करेंगे।
So of course there is a lot of masala over here, obviously, because we already discussed what is there in the original Mahabharat. But again, as I was telling you, because if you see very carefully, once Kunti says that all 5 of you share her, what is the problem in going back from that statement? That's what you understand in this discussion. See, there have to be some problems. See, why did even in the Mahabharata, Yudhishthir, why does he say that, once mother has said, it has to be obeyed? There are some fundamental problems. So there are some very fundamental concepts that these people spoke of. Does anybody remember some very interesting concept? Of course, I have written down, so it's a little easier for me to remember. In this clip, in this 5-minute clip that I played now, what are some of the concepts that have been got out? We're going to discuss concept first. Yeah. Yeah, very good. One thing that they say is that speech cannot be taken casually. Okay, very good. Fantastic. Yudhishthir says that आपने हमारे संबंध को एक नाम दे दिया है. You have given a name to our relationship. See, that means you just imagine from the Pandavas' perspective how pure the thought process is. That, even though they saw Draupadi, they always easily understood that this is Arjun's wife only, he won her. Means, that's how the story is. But once Kunti says this statement, that statement creates a relationship. That statement creates a relationship. And Yudhishthira says something more connected with this, at least in this serial. Anybody caught that line? A very interesting line he said. No. Something connected to this point. Okay, one more thing. He talks about the idea of a seed. He says that when a seed has been thrown in a mind, at some point of time it will come up. He's saying that you have said that we have to share her. Even today, if I subdue it, later at some time this thought will come up only in my mind. Ki she's mine also. That's what mother said. Very interesting point it is. That is, how samskaras are general. That once a seed of, sinful thought or whatever is put in, it has to come up. That's the nature of it. It has to come up and it will trouble you only. That's how samskaras work. So once you take something in, it's not easy to get it out of your system. That's what he's saying actually. He gives that example. एक बार आपने एक बीज हमारे मन में डाल दिया है और बाद में कभी भी सडनली ऊपर आ जाएगा वो धप्पू करके और हमको याद आएगा ये संबंध भी है एक ऐसा. This is one very interesting thing. There was something more he said actually, which was very nice. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, that means Kishore, go ahead. Quite. He says that, even if you have done something by mistake, that doesn't mean the reaction will not come. Because Kunti says it was a mistake I did. I just said you five share. I didn't intend that all five should get married. So he's saying भूल से क्या हुआ चीज भी इसका नहीं, भूल का दंड भुगतना ही पड़ता है. So he's quoting Shravan and Dasharath. That how Dasharath shot by mistake, but there is a reaction to it. Govind Prabhu says one very nice concept. He says that where it is said that small mistake means small reaction, small mistake can give very big reaction also. So he says in the context of Gandhari, how Gandhari hit her womb in envy. That small mistake made that whole lump of flesh that came out of her system an envious lump. And from that the 100 Kauravas were born who were full of envy. So one may say, अरे पूरा जिंदगी का trouble इसके लिए, mistake तो छोटा ही था ना, कि at that time momentarily, I mean any woman with their whatever, sister-in-law, there can be a little bit envy, वो तो होता ही है, it's always there only. So in that envy she hit. But that small act at that time, momentarily which she fell to envy, that resulted in a huge catastrophe later. Whole life she had to manage these 500 sons who were all envious. So the point is, small mistake does not mean that the reaction will be small. Reaction can be terrible. That's what he's saying here also. And Kunti is saying that it was my mistake. He's saying that where it is that if you do a mistake, the reaction will not be the reaction. To aati hai. That's what he's saying. Any other concept? Yeah. Question on this. I mean, see, one thing I'm telling you, we are very clear about why we are playing this. We are playing this to discuss the concepts that I brought out. See, because it's very good. In fact, I downloaded all this from YouTube. And if you see in YouTube, people are actually discussing about Mahabharat. In the comments, people are discussing the story. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, it has made people, because the concept which is there is a dharmic concept only, what they are talking here. Of course, by and large. Yeah. So we are just talking about that. We are not talking, I mean, we all know that it didn't happen this way. That's why initially itself I told you about Vyasdev rights. So we know the story, but we are discussing the concept. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. 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 Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. See, it's like this. Yeah, understood. See, the concepts which are there, see, his question is, these concepts that we're talking about, these are not there in Vyasdev's book. उसका writer का conclusion है ना ये सब. व्यासदेव का महाभारत में तो नहीं है ये conclusion. So how do we know? See, the point is, that's why dharma in general is understandable. You understand what I'm saying? Like, for example, there are concepts of dharma. See, again, try to understand this point. There are concepts of dharma. Like, for example, whatever we are talking, see, there are 4 or 5 concepts that came out here. First is that words are very powerful. Once you say something, you can't take it back. It's a concept. You understood? It is there everywhere in the scripture. So the very fact is, or for example, we are talking about, without thinking, you cannot say anything. You are accountable for it. Or we are talking about, a mistake being done. Even if it is a small mistake, the reaction is there only. It is not that a mistake does not carry a reaction. Or we are talking about the concept that if a seed has been put in the mind, even if you subdue it now, at another time, it comes up. So these are all extremely Shastric concepts. See, so that's why, Chanakya says that a learned person can pick gold from anywhere. Because he knows what is gold. So if you know what is gold, you can pick the gold. You understand what I'm saying? So again, I want to make it very clear that I'm not showing this to say that everybody should watch the Mahabharata. That's a personal decision. It's obviously up to you. That's not the goal only. The goal is just to discuss the concepts that they got out. That means in a dramatized presentation, another very important thing is, Govind Prabhu told me this even before, this Mahabharata came up, that in a dramatized presentation, the literal story which is there, that is not the focus actually. The dramatized presentation which is there, literal story is there only. That's what you cannot change major things. Ultimately, all 5 only get married to her. They cannot say that 4 of them took sannyas or something. They cannot do that. But in the dramatized presentation, it is but obvious that, people will do this thing. So the point is, at least, when we are watching, see, first of all, a television serial is not a scope or not a avenue to teach the real story. For that, there which you can buy and read, you know, which the Mahabharat is there 1 lakh verses. But एकदम clear क्या बोल रहे. Goal here is not that at all. The goal is to see how you can teach dharma to people. On the other hand, I tell you from Hare Krishna. You understand what I'm saying? So people have no scope to hear dharma only. That is another sad part. I mean, I'm not saying this is a good part. It's a sad part. So at least if these people push dharma like this, people in millions hear it. I mean, this is like telecast in all languages all over the world. You know, Indonesia and Bengali, Tamil, in every language this has been dubbed and it is going on everywhere. You know, it's the top serial in India now. I mean, it's in the TRP ratings, you know, and they have spent 120 crores on it. The highest money ever spent on any serial ever. 120 crores. It's a phenomenal amount. So basically the point is, at least if dharma is going this way, fine, no problem. We have no objection to that. It helps us connect, you know, with people and, you know, do this. Okay, so you understood the point, na? So it's not that this lesson has to be there in that book. We know what dharma is. It's available everywhere. You know, why should we rely on, you understood? But we can see that they're getting it out. Because as devotees, we can easily understand what is dharma and what is adharma. You know, so if they're saying adharma, you can catch that. It's not that you cannot. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that okay? Yeah? Okay, good. Any other quick question before I think I want to move on to the next part?
Question you were asking what Bhima says that the solution of dharma sankata comes only by tapas. Yes, that's it.
He says that, I mean, because we are in a difficult situation, we just have to perform austerities. Basically, what they are saying is, you know, if we have to disobey your statement and only Arjun has to marry her, there is no choice but for the four of us to go away from this equation only. Because if we vanish from this equation totally, and if we take sannyas or something like that, then we will never have to see her, and that thought will never come in our mind. Problem is solved. That's what they're saying. You know, I mean, it makes sense in that own set of circumstances. That if the Pandavas actually had to disobey Kunti, this is something like what they would have to apparently do. Because there was no way they could violate that statement and still stay, due to all these reasons that were pointed out. That's the point. You get it?
जैसे मैं उस ज़माने में ये हाँ सो जैसे उस ज़माने में जो भी बोलना है उसका अगर मतलब कर्म का रिएक्शन होता था, जैसे अभी उन्होंने बोला कि इज़ वैल्यूएबल, तो द सेम थिंग अभी इस कलयुग में तो वो भी धर्म और अधर्म होता है जब कुछ भी हम लोग बोलते हैं व्हाटएवर वी आर
कॉन्शियसनेस इतना ब्लंट है कि हमको ये सब समझते ही नहीं है. You understood? Yeah, we are getting all reactions also. Do it. Of course. You mean to say that the kind of thoughts that we have cultivated, are they not troubling us? The samskaras we have had, is it not troubling us? I mean, whatever cinema we have seen or whatever we have seen in our previous days, those statements, don't they trouble us at times? They do. Of course they do. Where is the question that they don't? Just that, you know, because of so much of trouble, it has become too blunt. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. There's not much hope. So, you know, we just loudly chant the holy names and we hope that Krishna will please with our chant do something. You know? Correct, na? But the concept is, hey, chalo बैठो, नहीं तो बाहर जाना पड़ेगा रूम से. आज मैं बहुत strict हूँ. Srinath, sit down. Okay, chalo. Is that okay? Yeah, so we go on to the next clip now. There are 2-3 clips. The third one is the best actually. I'll come to that very soon. So I'm just taking, you know, some selected portions. 107. 1 second, huh? 107. So basically, so what happens is, okay, I mean, just because, you know, I'm just fast forwarding. I'm not going to show everything. 1 second, huh? Okay. Okay, so basically, I mean, after that, what they show, I'll just tell you, so that, you know, there is a continuation. Because they have their own story. Ultimately, they land up at the same point. It's like this. What they are doing is, there is a story. They take a detour, show some muscle, and finally, they have to come back to the story only. So basically, that's what they do. But in the detour, there are lessons that are coming. And that's what is of our interest. That's why, I mean, I'll just reiterate. When I began my talk, I think you were not there, I was quoting Rupa Goswami, who says that folk tales which are there, they may not be literally true, historically true. But as long as they are not, as long as it is in line with Siddhanta, we are okay with it. It should not folk tales should not violate Siddhanta. So that's why I was telling you stories like Shabari biting and giving. It's not there in Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki doesn't say that. Shabari, bit the fruit and give. It's just not there. Yeah, some other author has written that. Or for example, so many stories. We hear all the stories of Hanuman, seva nahi hai karke, he just chutki bajata hai. ये सब कौन से शास्त्र में लिखा है? These are folk tales, but there is a spirit in the story. What is the spirit in the story? Service attitude. You understood? So being very literal and going behind that is important. There is a different venue for that, which is there. But when it comes to folk tales like this, there are the Ramayana, which we keep hearing. Even that squirrel putting dots and the Hanuman putting boulder. It's not in Valmiki Ramayana. Some poet's imagination it is, he writes. Fine. I mean, sometimes we say that maybe in some other Treta Yuga it happened that way. Maybe. Okay. But what is important is the spirit of the story. What is the spirit of that story? Everybody should render service according to their capacity. That's the point being made. You get this point. So that's the maturity of a hearer. So that. Okay, so anyway, in this story, what after this is decided, where all the four Pandavas say that we will take sannyas, let Arjun marry. Arjun runs to Draupadi and says that, please you do one thing, you marry my elder brother. I and the other three are going to take sannyas. Means Arjun comes to his own conclusion. I mean, again the same point. His eldest, he should get married first. वो तो वहाँ भी बोल रहे हो. Here, twist. He's saying that if Yudhishthir marry and the other four, we are going to take sannyas. Then tells her decision and the reason for that. So that's very interesting. Let's look at that now.
मेरे पुत्रों ने परिस्थिति से निकलने का मार्ग ढूंढ लिया है. तुम्हारे साथ किसी प्रकार का अन्याय नहीं होगा. तुम्हारा और अर्जुन का विवाह होगा. और उससे पूछ मेरे चारों पुत्र संन्यास ले लिए. संन्यास तो साहस का मार्ग है माता, भाग कर छिपने का स्थान नहीं. आपके पुत्रों का संन्यास किसे लाभ देगा? और राजकुमार भीम तो विवाहित हैं. उनकी पहली पत्नी को क्यों दंड मिले? और कोई उपाय भी तो नहीं है पुत्र. जब विवाह करके नए परिवार में प्रवेश करती है तो उस परिवार का सद्भाग्य बनने की आशा लेकर आती है. मैं महाराज पांडु के वंश का दुर्भाग्य किस प्रकार बन सकती हूँ माता? आपने अनजाने में मुझे अपने 5 पुत्रों में बांट दिया. मैं आपकी इस भूल को अपनी नियति मानती हूँ. मैं आपके 5 पुत्रों से विवाह करूंगी.
Yeah, so again, So Draupadi says some very interesting things. So what did you hear? I mean, what all interesting things she says? Okay, one by one. Yeah. No, first thing. If you can go in sequence, it will be good. This she says. Before that, what she says? I'll come to that. No, before that. Yeah, sannyas is a matter of sahas. It is to display. It is not just to escape somewhere, just to save oneself from a situation. That means though they are coming with a solution. See, basically the theme what they are trying to show. Please remember, it is shastric in the sense. Again, it tries to show that the Pandavas had no choice. All they had to marry Draupadi. That's it. There was no question. If any other choice would be there, it would be something like this. Would be ridiculous. So she says, sannyas is a matter of sahas. It's not a matter of just escaping from reality or whatever. She says this, and then she says something very important. No. Immediately after this, sannyas thing. Anybody heard that carefully? She says that who will benefit from their sannyas? She's asking this point. See, that means the point is the Pandavas are meant to rule the world. They are not meant to be sannyasis. They are meant to rule the world. Who's going to benefit? That means this is a very interesting point. That means whatever you do, you have to see who is benefiting from it. Is anybody benefiting? It's not just for one's own situation. That's the second thing. Then the third thing she says is, what? Yeah, when a daughter-in-law comes, yeah, she brings fortune to the family. That's how a daughter-in-law is. When a daughter-in-law comes, when the new bahu comes home, she makes the family more united. She brings prosperity to the family. How can I come and destroy this family? She's asking. Very pertinent question again. The question is that, you understand the point. How can I destroy? Anything else? Anybody heard? Yeah, Bhima is already, correct. Bhima is already married. Why should he take sannyas? Okay, that was a little lighter point. Okay, so these were some interesting things, right? And then she finally says that the best is that I accept your word as my niyati. Niyati means my destiny, and I just marry you. Okay. The stones is, this is again, I should have shown that before. That it shows in the story that when Draupadi is taken away by Arjuna, Krishna is there, na? He comes and gives as a gift 5 stones. She's saying that when Krishna does many things in this Mahabharat. He gives the 5 stones as a gift, 5 gems, and says that whenever you are in Dharam Sangat, look at these 5. And when you look at these 5, and he tells them also, each of these 5 are one pillars of Dharma. And these 5 pillars of Dharma, the qualities that he mentions are the qualities of the 5 Pandavas. I didn't show that part. Oh, hey, usme. The qualities of the 5 Pandavas. I forgot exactly what the 5 are. You remember that? Dhairya, yeah. She says that each stone stands for this particular quality, he says and gives. So actually all 5 are quality of the Pandavas. The 5 Pandavas qualities they are. So when Arjuna comes and says, that you marry my elder brother, that time she looks at this 5 and she gets an idea that Krishna had told me when you are in Dharam Sankat, look at the 5 and you will get a clue. So she gets a clue that I should marry all 5 of them. So that's how she comes and proposes. So that's the idea of those 5 gems. They're okay. But anyway, that's a separate point. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. Who's telling story? Huh? No, I don't know what context that is. See, you see it in 2-3 ways. See, that's why I tell you, scriptures, they are to be seen from adhyatmic, adidevik, adibhautik ways. You have to see it in different angles. If you see the Atidevik angle, the divine angle is this, that the 5 Pandavas are eternal associates of the Lord, and they always have Draupadi as a common wife. Are you understanding this? This is an eternal truth. That's how it is in the spiritual world. That's how it is. Wherever they go to establish dharma with Krishna, these 5 have one wife who is Draupadi. You get this? You understand the point? This is an eternal reality that exists. That's exactly what Vyasadeva is showing Drupad. Showing that see their eternal forms. You will understand why this marriage is dharmic. So, in this world, when it has to happen, it will again not happen just like that. Draupadi comes and she says, I'll marry all 5, and they say, okay, marry. There has to be some reasons why it has to take place. So, it happens through a channel. So, when Shiva is saying, tatastu, first of all, when you when you, I mean, literally also it is correct only when you are talking to a great personality, and when you say a thing, then they bless you immediately, yes, and then you say again, then they keep blessing you. So basically, it keeps coming. So that is also there, but then you have to connect it back to that truth. If you feel any problem with why Shiva did this, you have to connect it back to the Adidevic reality, who the Pandavas are eternally, why such a thing should happen. You understood this? So pastime has to be seen from different perspectives to solve any riddle if it exists. That's how it is. Uh, no, that is unusual, but that is actually, I mean, that is, I'll be playing that. There will be a part that comes, which talks about the greatness of Draupadi, the purity of Draupadi. Who is Draupadi really? That comes in the original Mahabharat also, it comes here also, pretty early on. I'll show that clip very soon. Wait, hold on for some time. Any other question or comment?
Draupadi, she must be knowing na, that she will be getting married to 5 husbands.
वो लास्ट लाइफ का है ना बाबा, हम लास्ट लाइफ का कर्म भूल जाते हैं ना ये लाइफ में, हमको याद नहीं रहता, वो याद दिलाते हैं बड़े लोग हमको, लाइक दैट. शी डजंट रिमेंबर. हाउ विल शी नो? शी डजंट नो. No, nothing like that. Mahabharat doesn't say anything like that. She just comes from fire. Drupad wants to get her married to Arjuna. Draupadi के मन में कुछ भी नहीं था. Yeah, that is correct. But whether Draupadi knows or not, I have not. You can find out the person. There is nothing like that very specific. Third part is the best of all. In this, we're going to have a lot of discussion as well. One sec, huh? 108. 108 किधर गया? चल रहा है. अभी दुशासन मर गया है कल मतलब कल के सीरियल में डेली 100 पे 6 days a week है वो बाबा. नेक्स्ट मंथ इज गोइंग टू गेट ओवर, बट दे हैव अनाउंस्ड ऑलरेडी. 1 second, 108. कैन एनीबॉडी हेल्प मी फाइंड 108? 108 था भाई. ओके, या ओके, बट वेरी गुड, बेस्ट. यू हैव टू रियली हियर इट वेरी केयरफुली.
धर्म का उपदेश दिया जा सकता है, आदेश नहीं दिया जा सकता. सबको अपना धर्म स्वयं निश्चित करना पड़ता है पुत्रों. मैं तो केवल धर्म के साथ तुम्हारा साक्षात्कार करने में सहायता कर सकता हूं. पुत्र युधिष्ठिर, यदि तुम संन्यास लोगे, हस्तिनापुर जैसे शक्तिशाली राज्य पे राज कौन करेगा?
मेरे पुत्रों ने स्वयं राज्य का त्याग किया है. हमें सिंहासन का कोई मोह नहीं.
अवश्य ये निर्णय तुम्हारा ही होगा कुंती, परंतु ये निर्णय लेते समय क्या तुमने प्रजा के सुख के प्रति तनिक भी विचार किया? क्या तुम्हारे मन में ये विचार आया कि यदि ये दुर्योधन राजा बन गया तो आने वाली कई पीढ़ियों तक हस्तिनापुर जैसे महान और शक्तिशाली राज्य पर अधर्म और स्वार्थ का राज होगा?
नहीं तात, मेरे हृदय ने कहा कि संघर्ष का मूल ही काट देना उचित है.
हृदय से विचार करना और बुद्धि से प्रेम करना अधर्म का पहला चरण है. अब इस विषय में तुम्हारा क्या कर्तव्य है कुंती?
हमें गुप्तवास का त्याग करके हस्तिनापुर वापस जाना होगा. ज्येष्ठश्री के बाद जब राजा बनने का समय आए तब युधिष्ठिर को राजा बनना होगा। अपने सुख के लिए नहीं, प्रजा को उत्तम राजा मिले इस हित।
उत्तम, अति उत्तम। परंतु युधिष्ठिर और भीम दोनों ही संन्यास लेंगे तो अवश्य ही राजा दुर्योधन बनेगा, क्योंकि अर्जुन तो अनुज है, उसका अधिकार ही नहीं है। और दूसरी ओर यदि युधिष्ठिर को छोड़ अन्य चारों भाई संन्यास लेते हैं तो युधिष्ठिर के रक्षण कौन करेगा?
क्षमा कीजिए भगवान, किंतु क्या इस समय राजनीति के विषय में विचार करना आवश्यक है?
अवश्य नहीं। क्षमा कीजिएगा भगवान, परंतु विवाह के निर्णय को हम राजनीति की तुला पे क्यों तोल रहे हैं? वो भी जब राजकुमारी द्रौपदी के लिए इतनी विकट स्थिति है तब।
राजनीति भी समाज के कल्याण का ही एक मार्ग है पुत्र, और उतने ही महत्व का मार्ग है जितना कि धर्म नीति। यदि अपने ऊपर कोई विकट स्थिति आ जाए तो ऐसे में समाज के कल्याण का विचार छोड़ केवल अपने लिए विचार करना, क्या ये उचित होगा पुत्र? उत्तर दो।
पर भगवान, मैं जब भी राजकुमारी द्रौपदी का विचार करता हूं तो मन नहीं मानता महर्षि। 5 पुरुषों की पत्नी बनना किस प्रकार सरल हो सकता है? हम एक स्त्री को ऐसा जीवन कैसे दे सकते हैं?
द्रौपदी का जीवन अवश्य कठिन होगा, तो क्या तुम पांचों भाई अपने जीवन को तपस्या नहीं बना सकते? कुछ ऐसे कठिन निर्णय नहीं ले सकते जिससे द्रौपदी का जीवन सरल हो? कैसे हुआ तुम लोगों? कोई भय है? कर रहे हो तुम लोग? क्या कोई भय है या कोई स्वार्थ?
किंतु भगवान, राजा के कार्य का अनुकरण करती है प्रजा। संसार की ये रीत बन जाएगी, अनेक स्त्रियों के साथ ऐसा अनाचार किया जाएगा। क्या यह उचित होगा?
अवश्य अनुचित होगा राजकुमार, पर इस समय एक बहुत बड़ी विपत्ति ने तुम सबको घेरा हुआ है। विपत्ति के समय जिस धर्म का वहन किया जाता है उसे आपद धर्म कहते हैं। आपद धर्म के अनुसार ऐसे कई कार्य किए जाते हैं जिन्हें सामान्य स्थिति में करना महापाप होता है। यदि किसी अन्य स्त्री का विवाह एक से अधिक पुरुष से करवाया जाएगा तो उन सभी पुरुषों को अवश्य नरकवास प्राप्त होगा। परंतु आपके लिए ये स्थिति असामान्य है, तो इसका उपाय भी असामान्य हो सकता है।
ये किस प्रकार का मार्ग है भगवान? मैं अपने छोटे भाई की पत्नी को अपनी पत्नी किस प्रकार मान सकता हूं? मैं अपने ज्येष्ठ भ्राता की पत्नी को माता मानने के स्थान पर अपनी पत्नी किस प्रकार मान सकता हूं भगवान? किस प्रकार?
तीन खंभों पर कलश रखा जाता है। कलश के नीचे प्रभु की मूर्ति, पांचों दिशाओं से सुरक्षित। उस मूर्ति का संबंध किसके साथ होता है भीम?
सबके साथ, पर किसी के साथ नहीं।
इसी प्रकार से क्या द्रौपदी को तुम अपने जीवन मंदिर में स्थापित मूर्ति नहीं मान सकते? स्मरण रहे भीम, मूर्ति के कारण मंदिर का कलश और खंबे पवित्र होते हैं। कलश और खंभों के कारण मूर्ति पवित्र नहीं होती। अब क्या निर्णय है तुम्हारा पांडु पुत्रों? यदि तुम संन्यास लोगे तो हस्तिनापुर जैसे शक्तिशाली राज्य पे राज कौन करेगा? यदि ये दुर्योधन राजा बन गया तो आने वाली कई पीढ़ियों तक हस्तिनापुर जैसे महान और शक्तिशाली राज्य पर अधर्म और स्वार्थ का राज होगा। तो क्या तुम पांचों भाई अपने जीवन को तपस्या नहीं बना सकते? कुछ ऐसे कठिन निर्णय नहीं ले सकते जिससे द्रौपदी का जीवन सरल हो? द्रौपदी को तुम अपने जीवन मंदिर में स्थापित मूर्ति नहीं मान सकते?
श्रेष्ठी के बाद जब राजा बनने का समय आए तब युधिष्ठिर को राजा बनना, अपने सुख के लिए प्रजा को उत्तम राजा मिले।
यदि तुम संन्यास लो,
जब राजा बनने का समय आए तब युधिष्ठिर को राजा बनना, अपने सुख के लिए प्रजा को उत्तम राजा मिले।
आने वाली कई पीढ़ियों तक हस्तिनापुर जैसे
शक्तिशाली राजा बनना, अपने सुख के लिए प्रजा को उत्तम राजा मिले। इस हेतु
हमें काम्पिल्य जाकर संसार नाम के इस सन्यास को धारण करना होगा। हमारे
You can put on the light because this will take some time to discuss. तीनों लाइट ऑन कर दो, सब कुछ जो भी है. We'll come back to this thing. There are two more things to be played, but this here discussion will be a little bit more. So what did we hear in line? Of course I have written down, so it's easier for me. But yeah, okay. First point.
We can explain the dharma, but we cannot order someone.
Yeah, very good. Dharma ka updesha. Yeah, this is correct actually. In a sense, that is, dharma or religious principles are always advised, but one has to find one's dharma in life at a particular point. Anyway, that's a sub point, but very good. A very important point next. Yeah, he's talking about Duryodhan. See, this is a very interesting thing because this conversation is very important. See, he's saying that because, this is again true that, when the Pandavas, they escape from that Lakshagraha, they are not thinking about going back. If you see the story, they are thinking about just escaping, going to the, Vidur also tells them, don't, just escape and go away. Later we'll see what is to be done. So in this Mahabharat, what they do is, they show in the beginning when they escape, they philosophically speak to each other. What to do? I have lost the kingdom. So Kunti says, let it be, let the Duryodhana rule. We will go to the forest. That is what Vidur also tells us. Because Vidur tells the Pandavas that, you don't come back, run away from Lakshagraha. So that is why, they come to this decision. But Vyasi was asking the question, if Yudhishthir takes sannyas or anything like that, if you do any such step, what is going to happen to the kingdom? That's the question he is asking. Okay, and then what happens? There is a very interesting conversation with Kunti. What happens in that? Yes. That is fantastic. That was a golden statement. So Kunti says over there that, my heart said that, unnecessarily why go to Hastinapur and keep fighting all the time with this Duryodhan? We thought of being happy in forest life. So that time he is saying that, हृदय से विचार करना और बुद्धि से प्रेम करना अधर्म का पहला लक्षण. It's a very interesting point actually. That is, one cannot think with the heart. One has to think with the brain and love with the heart. Heart is a place of emotions. So where the emotions are, you don't think emotionally. When you think emotionally, you arrive at sentimental decisions. So you always think rationally and love with your emotions. That's the point. Don't try to love rationally and think emotionally. That is adharma. That's the point he's saying. That's a brilliant takeaway. That's just beautiful statement. You understood this? I mean, if you see our scripture, now again coming back to the point, though it's not there in the Mahabharat, this line, it is there everywhere else in the scriptures. You see Ramayana, I'll just tell a couple of examples, I'll throw it open to all of you who can tell more. If you see in the Ramayana, the whole thing, Dashrath Maharaj, when he decides that, Ram's coronation will be done, it was an emotional decision he takes. Dashrath, what happens at that time, he suddenly is obsessed with fear because he sees some evil signs in the sky. So he feels kuch anarth hoga, and the background is Dashrath, when he married Kaikeyi, he had told Ashwapati, the father of Kaikeyi, that, तोड़कूடாது पड़ी आवला पड़ी पिल्ला पाइती मला सोला दे एक मिनट ना ठीक से बैठो आप ये मेरा जो टेक्नोलॉजी है ना बहुत डेलिकेट है या थैंक यू सो yeah, when Dasharath marries Kaikeyi, he promises Ashwapati, the father of Kaikeyi, that the son of Kaikeyi will become the king. So interestingly, the Ramayana says that right from the time of Bharata's birth and Ram's birth, Dasharath has a problem in his heart. His problem is, I have told him that Bharat will become, but how can Bharat become? Ram only has to become. So he's stuck in that duality, Dasharatha. And then what happens is, Janak also knows about this reality. Janak, only 3 people know about this truth. Dasharath knows, Ashwapati knows, Janaka knows. So when Dasharath decides that there are some evil signs in the sky, I'll immediately do coronation of Ram, he sends invitation to everyone except 2 people, Ashwapati and Janak. Because if these 2 come, there will be problem. They will raise the condition that a Bharat should become. You understood? And Bharat is also not there at that time. So it is said that Dasharath simply tells Vamadeva and Vashishta, his 2 priests, tomorrow itself is Pushya Nakshatra, let us do the coronation. If you see carefully, I mean, again, Govind Prabhu was once explaining that, from an Acharya's perspective, he says that actually if Dasharath would have called these people, they wouldn't have stopped Ram's coronation. In fact, it would have happened. If you see, from a very logical perspective. You understood? Because Ashwapati was not that kind of a person. In fact, the Ramayana says, Ashwapati never told this secret to Kaikeyi also, because he didn't have faith in his daughter. He felt that if I tell it to daughter, tomorrow she will stand on this fellow's head that my son only should become the king. So Ashwapati did not even tell this truth to Kaikeyi. Kaikeyi did not know about it. Otherwise, why should Kaikeyi do all this tamasha that, give me 2 boons and all? She would have directly asked, you promised my father that my son will only become. She didn't know about it. So Ashwapati knew that my daughter is not to be trusted. From that perspective. So he did not tell. But Dasharath thought, oh, aayega to aisa karega. He will do this, he will do this. Bharat is not there. Best time. Quickly let's do it. And in that all this happens. And then again the Ramayana mentions that later, when Kaikeyi gives her 2 boons to Dasharath, that Ram should go to Vanvas and Bharat should become the king, Dasharath doesn't give any decision. He's just paralyzed. He feels that I cannot say anything at this point of time. He feels that I am stuck. मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकता अभी. You understood? In fact, one Acharya, what he writes is that had Dasharath had a presence of mind at that time and thought, who will become the king is not a matter of a husband-wife, personal boon thing. It is a matter of citizens and everything. I should consult Vashishta Vamadeva. Whatever Vashishta Vamadeva say, I will do that. But this thought doesn't come to the king because he's stuck in an emotion. The whole thing that the Ramayana brings out at that point is, when you're stuck emotionally and you're thinking from that platform, your brain is paralyzed and you don't come up with the right decision. Of course, now again, if you think from the Adi Devik perspective, Ram had to go to the forest to kill Ravan. That's a totally different thing. We are not bringing that perspective over here. The perspective that we are talking is, when you think with your emotions, you land in trouble. That's the basic point. You know? So all this gadwad happens this time only. He thinks like this from his emotional perspective. That ये सब गलत होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा, ये ऐसा बोलेगा, ये वैसा बोल. And this is the reality of life also, if you see. Many times in our relationships also, our dealings, we are always constantly thinking, ये ऐसा बोलेगा, वो ऐसा बोलेगा, and we come up with some things which are actually not true. Because you know, we are caught in our emotion and we are thinking based on that. You know, I mean, practical situations like a marriage, like Krishna Chandra Prabhu when he was coming. I have told this example, I'll just tell again because it's pertinent to this point. That when Krishna Chandra Prabhu said that, you know, in 1990s, there was a Muslim girl who had come to Chowpatty and she had, you know, kind of become a devotee, 16 rounder. So she was saying that I want devotee husband. So they said, yes, we will get you married. And they were like, you know, they were convincing one devotee boy, Hindu boy, you know, to marry this girl because she was devotee, 16 rounder. So Maharaj, it seems, called these people and said that, see, just for one girl's Krishna consciousness, I don't want tomorrow a big riot at the doorstep of Radha Gopinath temple. She's a Muslim background, she's a very big family, whatever. Tomorrow her parents will come and raise a big slogan and, you know, some danga vanga will happen. I can't risk the whole project just for one person like this. Let her go, whatever her destiny takes her, let it happen. He told these people to just send this girl off. Saying that just obey your parents and do that. You know, we are not going to help you fight against your parents and get married to a Hindu boy. We don't want this trouble over here. So, you know, there is again the same point, you know, thinking from the heart, thinking from an emotion and thinking from the brain. So the question is, what are we going to do? That's the point. If you see Chaitanya Charitamrita, again the same point comes. Swarup Damodar is the classic example of someone who always thinks from the brain. He always thinks from the brain. He's known for that. If you see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's the personality. Oh, for example, I mean, on this thing, there is this whole pastime of Bhagwan Acharya's friend who comes, you know, this poet from Bengal who has written a poetry. And it is said Bhagwan Acharya is an extremely, you know, I would say, I mean, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is an extremely liberal personality and very soft. And people who are very soft, you know, they cannot, you know, cut someone. You understood? Now, like Gadadhar Pandit also had that problem. He was very soft internally. He couldn't cut. Like, for example, when Vallabh Bhatta came and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected him, everybody said, okay, chalo, humko baat hi nahi karne se, Mahaprabhu ne reject kar diya. Lekin Vallabh Bhatta couldn't say that. So some people are stuck in the emotion actually. They're unable to, you know, get out of that. So he was struggling. But anyway, Gadadhar Pandit at least knew that I should not mix with Vallabh Bhatta. But Bhagwan Acharya, he didn't even kind of make that discrimination. He was like going gaga about this Bengali poet's poetry. And he was telling that Swarup Damodar, please, this fellow has written such a nice drama. We should take his drama and let Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hear it. So Swarup Damodar says that, you know, you are a very liberal cowherd boy, you hear all kinds of things. But I don't think any of this is, you know, whatever, bona fide. So then Bhagwan Acharya is pestering him, no, please, you know, at least once you hear, then you will understand the glory of the poetry. So Swarup Damodar says, okay, call him. He comes and he starts the invocation verse. In invocation verse he says something, he makes some poetry where he says that, you know, I mean, Lord Chaitanya is the soul, you know, of the body of Jagannath. He has brought life to matter. So he describes, you know, Jagannath and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in one verse. So anyway, when hearing this verse, everybody says, wow, what a verse. Swarup Damodar says, explain it. So he starts explaining. And when he explains, his concepts become clear. When he explains, it becomes clear that what he's actually saying is that the Jagannath is a matter and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has got life to it. So basically, Mahaprabhu said, you have offended, Swarup Damodar said, you offended both Jagannath and Mahaprabhu. Nonsense you are, right? He just fires him. And then like he's taken aback and all the devotees say, hey, kya bogus poetry is. Then Swarup Damodar says, okay, anyway, by mistake it has so happened that there is another meaning in your verse which is proper. So Saraswati has tricked you and in your writing she has got out real meaning. You know, so then he explains that how his verse is correct also in a way, that how Jagannath, you know, he is eternally spiritual but he is in the form of this wood. So he cannot travel here and there. So Mahaprabhu has taken that mercy of Jagannath and is going everywhere to every desha and distributing that love of Godhead. So you see from that perspective your verse is correct. So he basically reconciles it. And he says that you hear from a bona fide Vaishnava and everything will be nice with you. So, you know, so that's the, you know, kind of discussion that happens over there. So, yeah, thinking rationally. So this is it. As far as, you know, loving intellectually is concerned, that is basically what happens with the Mayavadis in general. The Mayavadis are said to be, you know, loving their Brahman from an intellectual platform. You know, that's one example that comes to my mind. Because philosophically, if you see, you know, they are in love with God from an intellectual platform. At least what we can understand from our perspective is, whatever, you know, devotional service we strive to cultivate, you know, emotions we try to cultivate towards Krishna, in that we should involve possible. You know, we should bring out our emotion as much as possible in that. But when we are living in the world, when we are interacting with devotees, with everyone, we should keep our logical brain open. You know, so I mean, just like even in conventional sense, we all see this. You know, sometimes devotees have dealt with a devotee businessman or something, and they have thought with their emotion, not with their brain. Problem. It's something that you see around. You know, because you're not thinking with your, you're not thinking with your, you're thinking that ye to bhakt hai, bahut achhe bhakt hai. That's nice. That is an emotion that you can have. But when you're dealing on a material level, you got to think with your brain. You know, that's the point that he's making over there. Okay, anyway, any quick question? Or anybody would like to say some more example? This is a classic point actually. I mean, we can have a whole class on this. Oh, really? Yeah. 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 Understood. Okay. अरे ठीक है, कोई भी बहुत कुछ इधर उधर बोलते रहते हैं. आगे बताइए. Temple may get burnt also. Okay, first of all, I'll come to Yudhishthir's point. The Yudhishthir's point that you brought out, there also there was an emotion involved. And Acharya say, of course, from one perspective, the Leela had to happen because only then the war would happen. See, Draupadi's Vastraharan is a key part of Mahabharat. उसके बिना war ही नहीं होता. तो वो एक चीज़ है, वो होना ही था वो. लेकिन दूसरी तरह से बताया गया है कि when Vyasdev informs Yudhishthir at the Rajasuya Yagya that you will be you're the incarnation of Dharmaraj and it is through you that the annihilation of the entire Kshatriya race will take place, Yudhishthir is alarmed. Vyasdev forecasted to him saying that you, at your hands, due to you, many Kshatriyas will get dead. So he's like shocked. My God, at my hands things will happen. So he takes a vow, I will never disobey my superiors. That vow backfired. How that vow backfired? Dhritarashtra said, come and gamble. He had to obey that. He was bound by his own vow. No. See, no. One second. See, try to understand. When we are talking about thinking rationally, also these people live by a set of principles. Their set of principles is that once something is said, we abide by that. They are not people who change their words and statements. Oh my God, that's. I mean, you have to see the personality now of Yudhishthir. He's not like you and me or whatever. I mean, who will just say something and then next minute change the whole thing. नहीं मैंने वैसा बोला ही ले. तो धर्मराज किधर है वो? What kind of Dharmaraj is that? We people say that. You understand the point? He is not going to say that. So he says that whatever my elders say, I will obey it. He's stuck in his own word. You understood? The Mahabharata chose it. He gets stuck. And because of that, Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana tells his father, go, call him for a dice game. He has to agree. Yeah, immediately took a decision that backfired. That is also there in the Mahabharata. Since you got that example, somehow or the other, it's there. Okay, now coming back again to this Muslim girl, please try to understand, we have to put emotions aside over here. What is the emotion over here? The emotion is someone has come, it has to be protected. Everything is there. But according to the Manu Samhita, to protect a village, one person is sacrificed. You know that, na? To protect a district, a village can be sacrificed. To protect a country, and for God, the whole world can be sacrificed. That verse is there. You know that, right? So the point is, even realistically speaking, someone, I mean, he was saying that this girl belongs to a big family or whatever, from South Bombay, Muslim background. Her parents were not favorable to this marriage. They were saying you cannot marry like this. हमारा धर्म है, हमारा समाज है भाई. तू भक्त बन गई तो क्या हुआ? And if the devotees would take lead and arrange all this, and tomorrow if there is a, we just don't know what shapes thing can take. Tomorrow there may be a bomb blast, something, somebody may do something. Who wants panga unnecessarily? How to? And a preaching center is so important. See, you have to put that emotion totally aside. The emotion is that that person has to protect. That is between him and God. We will preach to that person. She is free to come to the temple and we can give Bhagavad Gita and Mala. But to interfere in her life, get her married to a devotee boy, she says that okay and all that, to take that risk. Why to handle such a risk? You don't know what the consequences will be. You have to think totally rationally over here. No, it's not the question of faith or anything. It is, see, girls' faith may or, again, you have to come to the same point. Girls' faith getting shattered versus putting, hundreds of devotees' project at stake. You just can't do that. You understood the point? You just can't, because that is emotion. That is emotion. But when a real life situation comes where there is a danger, you have to put emotions aside and think at that time. It is between her and Krishna. See, spiritual life is always independent of everything. You can even get married to a Muslim and still you can, like Maharaj says that, he met I told you last time, he has a priest whom he is preaching to. He's a Catholic father. He is chanting 16 rounds. But externally he has decided not to become a Vaishnava because whole society will be disturbed too much. Father hi matlab Hare Krishna ban gaya. So he is saying that I am continuing to be father, giving sermons in church where I talk about principles of Bhagavad Gita without talking Krishna word. But I am chanting 16 rounds. See, just try to understand this. Aside that emotion, forget it. There's no question. That's the point. You got what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. She won't mind it. Even she can think. You can handle it. In any situation, you can practice bhakti. That's our philosophy. You can practice bhakti in narrative of that. Of course, you have to make things favorable. But then to make one person's life favorable, you can't put a huge project into danger. We just don't know what's going to happen. Why unnecessarily take panga with someone? For what? It's not worth it. It's not worth intellectually. Put our emotions aside. Intellectually, if you think it's not worth, the pros and cons, it doesn't match. That's the point. That's what we're talking. Yeah? Go ahead. Any other point? Yes, bro. The discussion is happening on an intellectual level. It's not on an emotional level. In a managerial discussion happens, it's at an intellectual level only. Emotional discussion is in the context of, what Krishna does in our life or, tattva when you bring in. But here when you are talking managerially, ye karna chahiye, kya aisa karna chahiye tha, it's an intellectual discussion. There is no question of any emotion only over here. Yeah. Yeah, but intellectually when we are believing, we need to ask questions also. You can confront. That's fine. That's allowed. It's not that you should not. So Govind Prabhu always says that many times managerially we may sometimes differ also with Maharaj. We may say, Maharaj, ये practical नहीं है. हमको कभी बोलना पड़ता है ऐसा. इसका मतलब ये कि गुरु practical नहीं है. ऐसे कैसे हुआ? नहीं. Given in that managerial situation, what possibilities are there? You have a managerial opinion to it. So everybody is talking on the intellectual platform at that time. Of course, that respect is there emotionally. You're dealing with your guru, not that you just, managerial level equal. वैसा नहीं है. But still, at a managerial level, it's like that. It's an intellectual level only you're talking. Correct, na? Problem है, problem solve करना पड़ेगा भाई. So, correct? Any other point?
That means the same story that devotees helped her to run away and get married, something like that. Okay, that is another.
भेज दिया वापस. उसको बोला कि जो तेरी नियति जो है वही होगी. अभी हिंदी थोड़ा अच्छा हो गया है महाभारत देख के मेरे. Any other question? Okay, let's go back to our discussion. भूल गए. Okay, so where were we actually? We were at this point that emotionally thinking and intellectually loving. Oh, intellectually loving बहुत बड़ा चीज है. We are not going into it. Okay, any other point? What else we saw in this discussion? నేను అర్జున్నే సహదేవ్ యా సహదేవ్ he says there, very good point. Sahadev says that, you know, no, first of all Sahadev says, why are we talking about all this? Our current problem is Draupadi's. Sahadev says, so that time he says na, Arjun says na, बिल्कुल नहीं, क्यों बात कर रहे हैं हम इसके बारे में? So at that time Sahadev says concept that for his private life, that distinction is not very clear. That means for a person who is in such a place, his private life affects his public life. Independent of thinking of the public consequences about it. You understood? The same thing like what Ram did when he banished Sita. Because you have to think about public. That means the Shastri concept is that for a leader, there is no private life. And according to public life only, he has to think everything. That's the point. So when Sahadev is asking, why are we discussing? It's all connected. You know, that's again beautiful. Where they're talking about apadharma, where they're talking about where he's saying that, you know, will people not follow? Cannot follow. And again, a very Shastric concept, emergency dharma. But told is emergency dharma. I mean, you know, that's all you have to do. I mean, so that's emergency dharma. So these are all emergency dharma. In normal circumstances, you don't do it. But if required, sometimes it may have to be done. That's the point. That means, you know, this again shows that our scriptures are very, very practical. You know, they are not theoretic. See, when you say that rule aisa hi hai, it is very theoretical. It can never be like that. That's what Manu says. Rules are never fixed. Rules always depend on circumstance. So in Draupadi's case, it is not adharma. That's the point. And then of course, Yudhishthir's classic last statement is there, that hum samsar namak sannyas mein ghus jate. So basically that means, you know, what they decide is that we will enter sannyas in the mood of, we will enter Grihastha ashram in the mood of sannyas. That means as in, you know, that means we do this as an austerity, you know, as a sacrifice. And that's again classic.
Like Vyasadeva says that can't you do some tapasya for making the life of Draupadi? So what is that? That is like the rule they make. So the rule they make, like.
Kailash example was not very significant, honestly. Because see, we have to see it critically. Please remember, when you see such a serial, you should not see it as if your Guru Maharaj is speaking. The writer of this episode, you know who is the writer of this Mahabharat? Salim Khan. He is the writer of this. Salim Khan or something. He is the writer of this. So you are supposed to see it critically. You are supposed to see it critically. It is not Radhanath Swami or Prabhupada who is giving a lecture and that, you know, you fold your hands and hear everything. Some things, where I see, I just drop it out. I just filter it. Send it off, you know. What good, take it out. That's it. That is what Vaishnavism is. Saragrahi. Of course, the Kailash example is not wrong. Kailash example is not wrong. It just says that Kailashas are supporting, you know, the deities. So keep Draupadi in the center like that, and all of you stay around protecting her. Like that is saying. But that's not a very significant one. I mean, it's okay. Like, come on, let's go into it. Haribol. All my audience has arrived and we are again back into Mahabharat. एक मिनट लाइट चाहिए मुझे स्टार्ट करने के लिए मुझे चाहिए. How did they know I'm playing? Hey Baba. No, one second. Hey, 1 second. Or. Hey Baba. Second, I'll start. Yeah, that's great. Now next I have to play 110, 11:30. 110. Hey, one second. ये कहाँ गया? एक मिनट, श्रीनाथ उठो. आवाज ऊपर. Just there's some loose contact. Just plug in that thing. करे 2 मिनट. मैंने अभी तक I have not gone to the place which I want to show. हम लोग पूरा तो नहीं देखने वाले. 5000 मिनट का ये महाभारत. There are 250 episodes na, each of 20 minutes. Yeah. Off the light.
चलिए पुरोहित, विवाह आरंभ करने से पूर्व मैं कुछ सवालों के समाधान चाहता हूं मामुनि व्यास। मेरी पुत्री मेरे आंखों के सामने एक ऐसे जीवन में प्रवेश करने जा रही है जो चिता की आग से भी अधिक दुखदायी होगा। आपने इसे धर्म माना, पर क्या संसार मानेगा? पुत्रों, विवाह का आधार होता है 7 वचन जो वर और कन्या एक दूजे को देते हैं। किंतु यह विवाह सामान्य नहीं है। इसे सफल और धर्ममय बनाने हेतु आप लोगों को कुछ अन्य वचन भी देने होंगे। जिस प्रकार एक पौधा एक समय पे 2 जगह नहीं उगाया जा सकता, एक मंत्री 2 राजाओं का मंत्री पद कभी धारण नहीं कर सकता, समर्पण एक समय पे केवल एक के प्रति ही हो सकता है पांडुपुत्रों, तो एक कन्या 5-5 पतियों के प्रति अपना कर्तव्य कैसे वहन करेगी?
एक 5 के प्रति समर्पित नहीं हो सकता भगवान, किंतु 5 तो एक के लिए समर्पित हो सकते हैं। हम 5 भाई राजकुमारी द्रौपदी के लिए सदा ही समर्पित रहेंगे। उनका निर्णय मान्य करेंगे।
उत्तम पुत्र युधिष्ठिर। द्रौपदी 1 वर्ष तक आप में से किसी एक की ही पत्नी होगी। उस 1 वर्ष में द्रौपदी के भवन में केवल वही प्रवेश कर पाएगा जिसे द्रौपदी ने वो अधिकार दिया होगा। द्रौपदी के सुख के लिए ये कठिन वचन मांग रहा हूं मैं।
किंतु संबंध का आधार तो स्मरण होता है ना भगवान। फिर वो 1 वर्ष के प्राप्त सुख और दुख से मेरी बहन मुक्ति कैसे पाई? वो तो वो स्मरणों के तले दब जाएगी भगवान।
मैं प्रतिवर्ष अग्नि के समक्ष कठोर तपस्या करूंगी। बीते वर्षों के संबंधों और स्मरणों को भुलाकर अपनी आत्मा को पवित्र करूंगी।
भगवान, केवल राजकुमारी द्रौपदी ने, हम 5 भाई भी ऐसा तप करें। प्रत्येक वर्ष ये प्रण लेते हैं।
एक और भी प्रश्न है भगवान। राजकुमारों को अनेक कारणों से एक से अधिक विवाह करने पड़ते हैं। यदि ये पांचों पांडव अपनी अन्य पत्नियों को ले आएंगे तो मेरी पुत्री की स्थिति क्या होगी, जिस पर सबका अधिकार होता है, उसके प्रति कोई कर्तव्य का निर्वाह नहीं करता।
इस प्रश्न का संबंध केवल मुझसे है भगवान। केवल मेरा विवाह हुआ है। मैं वचन देता हूं कि अपनी अन्य पत्नी को कभी नगर के भीतर नहीं लाऊंगा। हम जहां भी रहेंगे वहां केवल एक ही रानी होगी और वो राजकुमारी द्रौपदी होंगी।
हमारे वचन go back to that again very quickly. Okay, so we have to wind up quick because we are timed out. So what did we see in this basically? So it starts with the question being asked by Drupad. In any case, Vyasdev, he suggests something. What does he suggest? Every year the rule. That rule is there in the Mahabharata. The rule is what? That, whatever. Here they say 1 year. I have to just find out exactly whether it was 1 year or what it was. But there was a rule that for a particular time, only one husband. That means, very important concept. He's saying that a woman can do the samarpan to one person, only to one person at one time. So it's not possible that all five can keep going to her room. Only one can go at a time. At that time, Shikhandi is raising a very important point. Who heard that? What was the point that Shikhandi heard? Because she says that sambandh ka adhar smaran hota hai. That means when you have a relationship, you have memories. It's a classic point. For a woman, it's actually perfect because that's why the Shastra says a woman's psychology is such, she cannot forget that memory. You understood? That is why from the Shastric perspective, a woman can marry, establish a relation with a man only once. But a man can, whatever, he could have multiple wives because that's how the Shastra, that's what psychology is. Of course, nobody is going to do that, or neither am I saying that over here. But we are talking about the Vedic psychology concept. We have to accept it. It is there. क्या हो गया? झगड़ा हो गया उसके साथ? She bit her? Okay, no problem. Okay, so she's saying, for a woman he says, sambandh ka adhar smaran hai. How can she forget the sukha and dukkha that she experienced with one man before going to the next? So Draupadi says, what does Draupadi say? I will do austerity. I'll be like fire to do austerity in such a way that I forget those memories and I begin a new relationship. And this is actually true, let me tell you. That's how actually Draupadi's character is. She is chaste to every husband. That's exactly what it means. When she is with that one man, she forgets her relationships with others. And she completely surrenders herself to that man, forgetting all her previous things. That's why Draupadi's position is very special. No woman can bring out that point. A woman normally cannot do it, but she does this. So she says that I will do tapasya and I will actually, this thing. And then the other point also comes where Bhima is saying that, we will not bring our other wives. That means wherever we are, only one wife will be there. That is also correct actually. If you see from the story, literally, Bhima never brings Hidimpi, and even Arjuna, he marries Ullupi and that Chitrangat, Subhadra, they don't come actually. Even if you see in the Mahabharat, Subhadra remains in Dwaraka only actually. Most of the time. She just very occasionally she comes actually. Otherwise, even after in fact, the Bhagavad and Mahabharata have two different opinions in this. According to the Mahabharata opinion, when Krishna goes back after the fight, Subhadra is at Dwaraka. She is asking about the death of her son. She is not here. In the Bhagavad, of course, we see Subhadra also mentioned being there. So anyway, by and large, even Arjuna does not bring any of his wives. That means wherever they are there. So what I'm just trying to say is, this whole act of 5 men marrying one woman was a phenomenal sacrifice from the woman's side and from the side of the 5 men. See, can you imagine? Even they did not have time with their wife. Like one year or whatever time. One person is with the wife, other 4 are just like brahmacharis only outside. They are like, they have no access to the wife in a private way. Only in public they are there. That means in the courtroom and all, they can talk to her. But in private, she's only with one man at a particular time. That's how it is actually. It's just class. No one can do this. That's the greatness of these personalities, which has been brought out very beautifully in this thing. Okay, so now I'll just go to the last shot and we will just take that, and that will end. This is very beautiful. You know, in this what they do is, in our previous B.R. Chopra's Mahabharat, that Kala would say, you know, me samay ho, ding, 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 it would say, you know. Here Krishna keeps saying messages. So Krishna says message at the end of this whole thing. 1 second, that comes in the next episode, 111. That is the last thing that I'm playing, and then we are ending. So you can off the light, yeah. This is just for 2 minutes. With that we end. This is beautiful. 1 second, I'll give the mic there.
प्रत्येक मनुष्य के जीवन में ऐसा क्षण अवश्य आता है जब सारे स्वप्न, सारी आशाएं, सारे दृश्य ध्वस्त हो जाते हैं। जीवन के सारे आयोजन ही बिखर जाते हैं। एक और धर्म होता है और दूसरी ओर सुख। किसी को धर्म संकट कहते हैं। जब धर्म का वहन ही संकट हो और धर्म का त्याग ही सुख हो। विचार कीजिए, कभी किसी स्वजन के विरुद्ध सत्य बोलने का अवसर प्राप्त हो जाता है, कभी ठीक दरिद्रता के समय सरलता से चोरी करने का मार्ग प्राप्त हो जाता है, कभी किसी शक्तिशाली राजनेता या राजा के कर्मचारी का अधर्म प्रकट हो जाता है। सबके जीवन में ऐसी घटना बनती ही रहती है। अधिकतर लोग ऐसे किसी क्षण को धर्म संकट के रूप में जान ही नहीं पाते। हमें किसी प्रकार के संघर्ष का अनुभव ही नहीं होता। सहजता से सुख की ओर खींचे चले जाते हैं, जैसे मक्खी गुड़ की ओर खींची चली जाती। वास्तव में धर्म संकट का क्षण ईश्वर के निकट जाने का क्षण होता है। यदि हम संघर्षों से भयभीत ना हो, सुख की ओर आकर्षित ना हो, अपने धर्म पर दृढ़ रहे, तो ईश्वर का साक्षात्कार दूर नहीं। पवन से युद्ध करने वाला पत्ता यदि पेड़ से गिरता है तो भी आकाश की ओर उठता है। पवन से झुकने वाली घास वहीं भूमि पर रह जाती है। अर्थात धर्म संकट से यदि हम संकट को ही टाल दें तो सुख तो मिलता है, जीवन बढ़ता है, किंतु क्या चरित्र नहीं टूटता? क्या आत्मा दरिद्र नहीं हो जाती? क्या ईश्वर से अंतर नहीं हो जाता? स्वयं विचार की।
And this is a beautiful thing. See what he brings out what is Dharma Sankat. He defines that beautifully actually. So they would have been happy in the forest. That's what actually you see throughout. See, throughout the life of the Pandavas, Yudhishthira is a personality for whom forest life is best, most suited to his nature. Not interested only in Hastinapur capital. You understood this? But the point is, for the sake of dharma, they went to fight. You understood? That is actually the thing. That means, for our case, sukh is sense gratification. For them, sukh was forest life. That was their sukh. They were like that. They were the mode of goodness and beyond. For them, forest life was best. Where did they like all this fighting with Duryodhan? That's why Yudhishthira repeatedly keeps saying, why are we simply wasting our time like this? Let's go back to the forest. That was a fantastic life. So from their perspective, that was sukha. But Krishna continuously reminds them that your dharma is to fight, not to go to that sukha. You understood? He nicely brings out. He says that when there is a circumstance, like for example, when there are some difficult situations, thieves increase. I mean, like, if you see there are war and all that happens, first thing happens is that people become irreligious. They start raping, they start stealing, everything they do. Because all bonds are broken now. They don't care. They think that we are anyway about to die, so let's just enjoy or do anything whimsically. That's how the nature of people is. That's what he's saying. But he's saying on the contrary that if you fight in that situation, he says another interesting thing, that that means we don't experience the struggle. So that means the perfect that, you know, the higher dharma. But most of the time our personal perspective, when our lower nature prompts us something and we know there is a higher nature according to the dharma, we don't experience that fight. You know, just like chanting. You know, I mean, the sangharsh in chanting is to hear. I mean, you can apply everywhere. It's a concept. It's a concept that applies across the board. You know, I mean, when you're chanting, the struggle is what to hear. We all know that. When we are sitting with a feedback, we are supposed to hear. Most easiest is to surrender to the sukha of the mind. What is the sukha of the mind? To wander here and there. That's very easy. So most of the time we don't experience sangharsh. It's a beautiful point. That we don't. Then what happens? You go closer to God. He's saying, ईश्वर के प्रति आप निकट हो जाओगे. नहीं तो ईश्वर से दूर हो जाते हो. A sadhaka's life is a life of struggle. That's how it is defined. A sadhaka's life, spiritual. I mean, coming back to our ABCD, you know, our basics of Krishna consciousness. Our life is a life of struggle only. You know, whenever we don't struggle, we are choosing the path of sukha, which is the easiest path. When we struggle, we actually are surviving in spiritual life. That's how it is. That's the point he's bringing out. And this is true not only in our sadhana, it is true everywhere across the board. That's what he's trying to bring out. Because that is a dharmic principle. You know, dharma on one hand and sukha on the other hand. It's a classic conclusion to the whole theme, considering what the Pandavas actually saw as sukha and how for the sake of dharma they had to do so many sacrifices. That's the point he's bringing out. Any quick question or comment? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. 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 Shelter of Krishna. That means shelter of the dharma. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So complacent means. That's the point. Yeah, go ahead. Nothing. He's saying Maharaj says the same thing, that, you know, you can only say that again loud. We should take shelter of Krishna and not become complacent. Of Krishna, correct. We become complacent if we do not take shelter of Krishna. Yeah, good point. Anything else? I forgot. I couldn't hear that. You know, my child was saying something, so I missed it. Yeah, what did he say? Okay, fine. I didn't catch that. Anyway, yeah. Good. Any other point? See, first of all, I'll tell you one thing. From the Shastra, there is nothing like only one definition. This whole idea that, you know, there is only one way to look at a particular thing is fundamentally, from the Vedic perspective, it is wrong. The Vedic perspective is that the Shastric truths are a Vaidurya jewel. That's the example that's given. A Vaidurya money which is there from different sides, you look different. You understood? So I know this point that dharma, that is also one type of dharma sankat where there are two different types of duties. But this is actually a very practical dharma sankat life of people where there is something to be done and there is an easier path of sense gratification. And your conflict between the two. That is also dharma sankat only, because you're just wondering what to do, you know, whether to take that or not. You understand the point? So multiple definitions is the standard within, you know, Shastric domain. Yeah, it's a standard. It's not that, it's never the case that one thing can be looked at only from one angle. That's never the case. That's why we have the whole idea of Acharya's commentaries and everything. That's actually Abrahamic religions. The Western religions means just look at it one way. You cannot interpret it in another way. But the Vedic truths are never like that. You can see it from different ways. That does not, that basically means that all the ways are true. All the definitions are true. You know, like Krishna also. Krishna's name has so many explanations, and all are fantastic and all are absolutely correct. Like that, yeah? Go ahead, next one.
After the war, we see that Yudhishthir Maharaj doesn't remain a king for a longer time. But then here we...
Good question he's asking. He's asking that after the war, Yudhishthir Maharaj did not remain a king for a long time. We have to come to the temporal reality of this material world. First of all, Yudhishthir Maharaj ruled for 36 years, which was quite long. And even before the war, also Yudhishthir ruled. When Yudhishthir was ruling Kandava Prastha, Arjun went 12 years for his own vanvas. That time they were ruling only. You know the story, na? Arjun goes in the bedroom of Yudhishthir and Draupadi. 12 साल का वनवास है अर्जुन को उस टाइम. उस टाइम they are all ruling only Kandava Prastha. So if you see, Yudhishthir's rule is minimum 50 years out of a life of 125 years. Minimum. It's more than that only. Another thing, I asked this question to Govind Prabhu. He said, what to speak of 36 years? He said, one day of rule of Yudhishthir is superior to millions of years of Duryodhan's rule. That is our perspective. One day of rule of Yudhishthir, that means one day of dharmic rule is superior to millions of years of Duryodhan's rule. As far as temporal existence of this world, the world is temporary. So even if somebody rules for, even Dhruva Maharaj ruled for 36,000 years, but that's also temporary. It got over 36,000. And then Vena came later, after some generations. So the point is, material world is temporary only. That does not mean that we don't struggle for something. You understood? When I asked this question to Govind Prabhu, that time he also told this point of, I told this once in counseling meeting, I'll tell again. He said that once in Bombay, he met one Gujarati family who do this Rangoli. This Gujarati family has a tradition of doing a big Rangoli which takes 7 days for them to do before Janmashtami. And the grandmother did it, the mother did it, the daughter does it, 15-year-old daughter. So he said that, he had gone with some devotees to see the Rangoli. So when the devotee saw the Rangoli, the first thing he told the mother is that, chala jayega. This Rangoli to chala jayega. 7 दिन मेहनत किया चला जाएगा. So the mother said that, ये दुनिया में सब कुछ तो चला जाता है. इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी कि हम कुछ कार्य न करें. So that's the point, that the material world is temporary. But that doesn't mean you don't fight for truth. Even if you can establish it for 1 day, 1 minute, it is clear. That's the perspective.
He left, what did... Okay, he made an arrangement.
Of course, ultimately Aurangzeb ruled, but the point is, but the point is, that's how material world is. It will keep changing, but that does not mean you say Yudhishthira ka rule to fayda hi nahi hua. Ant mein kya hua? Mughal ho gaye. So then that means we are trying to say that at some point of time in the material world, adharma will come only. So why should dharma struggle at all? That's pointless. Dharma has to keep struggling. The dharma will go. Yada yada hi dharmasya. It has to be re-established back again. Okay? Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of course, I did quote Prabhupada much, but whatever. And then of course we saw something from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Something. We just have some kirtan for 5 minutes. Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Just a couple of announcements. So first thing is that, many people kept coming late. I just recap what we did. We started off by talking from the original Mahabharat, the whole story of Draupadi's marriage. First we did that. Then we spoke about folk tales and we spoke about, literal implementation of story versus taking lessons. And then I played 5-6 clips and then we discussed. Okay, so that's what we did today. Another very important thing, coming back to something more ground to earth and realistic, we all have to collect funds for Janmashtami. Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol.